Hello, today we're talking about attendance by school and grade. So let's take a look at Marie's email and answer some of those questions. Does the denominator in this report include everyone in the campaign? I've tried adding in a filter that pulls out students who do not have a workshop session assigned, but this does not seem to change the percentage. That is true. The percentage is not changed. This report reflects people who are in a campaign, they're a campaign member of a workshop event, whose workshop date is less than today and or greater than July 11th, 2012. So this is showing, that's interesting. We should probably customize that actually so it's not 2012. We want to see just this year's students, so I'm going to go ahead and edit that and make that greater than 2013 and say okay. This way I can start to get some what's going on this year. It'll shrink our pool and Gene Childs will go back to looking like a little more reasonable. There we go. All right, let's cruise on down. There we go. This looks like a better reflection of this year. So let's go back because I don't know if I necessarily answered that question. So the answer is the report actually shows people who are in a campaign and assigned to a workshop session. And the way that we've captured that workshop session is by the filter date right here. This workshop date is derived from the session information. So it has to be greater than July and today. And we can test our theory too. So we're going to say, all right, our friend Cone. I mean, that's the big thing about these reports is if they look confusing, I really encourage just changing a little bit of data and see if it indeed behaves as expected. So what we expect is that if I unassign somebody to a workshop session, then my number of invited should be decreased. I went ahead and opened up a campaign member. And I'm just going to go ahead and remove them from the workshop session. I'm going to save it in my cursor, though, because I'm a lazy girl. I'm going to hit save. And it's going to take a moment. Then I'm going to cruise over to my attendance. There we go. It is done. And I have to hit run report. Sometimes Salesforce, because it is a virtual host and it's a multi-tenant environment, the information won't be reflected immediately. Occasionally you have to wait a moment or two. But in this instance, we can see that indeed our number of invited has decreased to 90 and our percentage is now at 72. Our sum of attendees hasn't changed because we didn't remove the assigned session for somebody who attended. So I'm going to go back to our friend who we changed the record. I can't change the workshop date. It's a formula field. It is locked. And I'm going to put back in the workshop session, hit save, and there we go. Well, let's move on to the next question. The next question is, do students with withdrawn in the RSVP field still get pulled into the denominator of this report? The answer is yes, they still get pulled into the denominator of this report. If I wanted to exclude students who were withdrawn, I could edit my filter criteria, and it's I think the field is called RSVP, and I would say does not equal withdrawn, and then that would remove those. And then the next one is, do we have a separate time freeze report? We don't. But we completely could. We would just want to think clearly about the criteria. There's some fields right here on the campaign member. So we have an emit date because not only do we have a withdrawn problem, but conversely, we also have an admit problem. We don't want to be penalized for students who were admitted to a school after we had the FLW. So we'd want to create probably either based off of the school, or you could do it within a cohort and like a grouping of dates and not worry about your edge cases. It depends on how fussy you want to be. And in that instance, you would say for the time freeze where admit date is less than X, less than the date maybe 2 weeks before the first FLW, however you guys wanted to spin it, and where the withdrawn date is greater than oh, I don't know, maybe the date of the last workshop. And then that would uh, change that. And here, let's go ahead and let's see how that works. I'm going to go here to, this person is right now as an RSVP. I'm going to hit withdrawn, and I'm going to hit save. And it just takes a moment because whenever we change that, a lot of information gets updated. So what happens is now that we see this student was withdrawn on October 10th of 2013. Let's change it back to attending the way that it was before and hit our friend save. Taking a sip of that notorious tea. And then we see that the withdrawn date is indeed removed. The omit date, though, happens automatically whenever a student is added into a camp. Add our email, and it says, can you clarify these filters? Do these filters mean that students with blanks in the workshop date field will not end up on this report? Yes, that is true. Students who do not have a workshop date on the campaign member will not show up in this report. I hope that was helpful. Have a great day. It's been fun. The next question that we're going to want to think about is, how do we exclude people who were invited last year? I suspect that's going to be one of the reports. And when you're ready, let me know and we can talk about that report. Have a good one, guys.